January 21st, 2023. I'm in Lewis Riviera Park, I think that's what it's called. And I was here 6 weeks ago at the other side of the park, and I hadn't realized how things connect. Here you can see the sea, the Atlantic Ocean, looking absolutely gorgeous. The sea's been very choppy the last few days, but today it's smooth and calm. Look at these trees, pine trees, and the ubiquitous palm trees that don't do anyone any good. Some of them have these red fruits at the moment. I guess they're the girl palms. Look at this old light fitting. These old trees with these amazing roots and bark. This park is well cared for, very well cared for, which is what I noticed when I was here 6 weeks ago. The grass had been cut and grass sweepings removed. Look at this slate floor, nothing growing in between. Beautifully maintained. This is interesting over here, this building. It's caught my eye walking past it. This feels like I'm still in Spanish colonial Puerto Rico. And of course the signs of Spanish imperialism are absolutely everywhere with these roots. I walked up the stairs to take a look at this building, which has a lot of black mold. And the first thing that I saw was this slit. Spain was always trying to defend itself in Puerto Rico. That's what these slits are, so you can jam I suppose bows and arrows originally, or muskets, so that you can kill anyone who wants to take it from you. This, I don't know if this was a church, but it really is a gorgeous old building. The Spanish knew how to build gorgeous things in tropical countries because, of course, Spain is hot. The English never did as well because England is cold. That's my theory. So it's pretty late in the afternoon for my walk, but that was because I was reading all about the contagion laws, the Contagious Diseases Act of 1864 in England. And it's interesting about laws. I know the Republicans at the moment, January 21st, 2023, they want to get rid of all regulations because they think all regulations are bad, which of course is nonsense. But some regulations can do an enormous amount of harm if you're not understanding what they're about. So the Contagious Diseases Act of 1864 was strenuously opposed by Florence Nightingale and strenuously supported by Elizabeth Garrett, Dr. Elizabeth Garrett, who was the first woman trained as a physician in England. It's interesting how women go into men's domains and immediately start acting like the men. And the whole point, oh my, look at this. Oh, it's gorgeous. and the birds. So the birds live here now. That must have been an oven, an outside oven, which of course makes sense in a hot climate. But the Act was passed in 1864 in order to protect the wives of soldiers coming back from India, which sounds very strange. So there was some theory that men were not responsible for venereal diseases, the prostitutes were. And a prostitute was any woman tossed out by her family, abandoned by her British husband, who she thought was a husband, but he wasn't, because British men were not allowed to marry Indian women after the East India Company left in 1857, and before that too, and for very obvious reasons. Look what happens when you let everyone marry each other. You end up with America. You end up with a homegrown force objecting to being colonized. So what were they going to do with these English soldiers aged 18 and up in India? Homosexuality was illegal, so they couldn't have boyfriends. Having anything to do with an Indian woman that constituted a family was illegal. So what you had to do was supply prostitutes. And the British defined the prostitutes as women of low class who were just evil. Well, they weren't. They were from everywhere. They were Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Brahmin, all kinds of castes. And most of them, from what I gather, had actually been kidnapped and sold into sexual slavery. So the crux of the law was that a woman had to, every two weeks, bi-weekly I believe means every 2 weeks, she had to submit herself to a very rigorous and insulting and painful physical examination by a male surgeon to make sure that she was not infected with a STD, so that she could go back and continue to being raped by and beaten and everything else, even murdered by British soldiers. You know, this is sad. This has seen better days. Yeah. Okay. Now, condoms have been around since animal skin, like BC. People have known about condoms, but for some reason it never occurred to anyone in the British Army using condoms would be a good idea. So what happened to the women? Well, they were discarded. They were thrown out of the military encampment, which might well include her family, if she was diseased. And it was awful. I'll do a talk more thoroughly on this later, but I was just struck by how many suffer when men decide to conquer countries and cause war. And we're hearing that too in Ukraine, about women being raped. murdered. I mean, if they weren't bombed or starved to death, the Russians are very happy to rape them and then kill them. Little girls. Once you decide that a human being is not a human being, all kinds of atrocities are possible. It's what Hitler did with Jews. It's what Russia is doing with Ukrainians. It's what the British did with Indians. Oh, this park is gorgeous. Oh, I'm glad I took a detour. I'm actually on the way to the Veterans Memorial, which I believe is on the road to my right. I didn't realize this park was so gorgeous. Gee. Yeah, I made some videos of, on the left, when I found some heroes of the revolutions. Simon Bolivar. Oh my, look at that. Gorgeous. So much beauty around, and so many things you can make laws about that are helpful to people and to the planet. And then you get these idiot laws that will benefit one tiny part of the population, and probably not at all, because the men were still coming back from India with syphilis, and at the expense of oppression, cruelty, evil of a large number of people. The name Josephine Butler, Mrs. Josephine Butler, that's an important one. And of course Florence Nightingale, who was in every feminist cause. And she really thought doctors were idiots, because there were. Dr. Elizabeth Garrett. She met Elizabeth Blackwell, who was America's first female doctor. And Elizabeth Blackwell saying, well, you know, I'm a doctor and you're a nurse. Now, Florence Nightingale, who trained all across Europe, trained in anatomy in the museums of Italy and France, trained in mathematics, was a member of the Royal Society of Statisticians. And he was this woman who'd managed to get through 1 year of medical school in upstate New York, and hence could call herself a doctor. Yeah. Florence Nightingale thought Elizabeth Blackwell was an idiot. And it's a shame that they didn't understand each other, because to this day, physicians really do see themselves as extremely superior in their education to nurses. And of course, not every nurse. Nurses are not all equal. You have some who change bedpans, and of course should be given respect for that, because it's a disgusting job and they should be highly paid. More than for a doctor who just walks in, nods at a patient, and writes a prescription. Okay. Oh, this, yeah, I saw this in my last walk too. This is a public space where people are allowed to hold talks. Oh, look at that. Oh. This is a gorgeous old building. See, with the copper roof. Or is it stainless steel? Do not enter. Danger. Okay. Not allowed in there now. But you can get an idea of it. Okay, this is Susanna Dodgson on this gorgeous January day on San Juan Island, heading towards Old San Juan. Thank you for watching the video. May you be blessed.